What is everyone missing from the resilient Jenkins scenario? So I have some time before going to work. I've attempted to make like 6 videos before all this. It's been crazy. Roommates are changing. I got 2 kittens in here right now. One of them is not mine, but one of them is. Hello? Okay, he's playing with the bedding. He's down here. Anyways, I decided to make this go ahead while it's still fresh in my mind as I've been researching this. I've put in probably 8 hours into this right now, and we have, to be fair, this should be half the pages. My writing is just weird. You can see a lot of spacing, but half of that is technically information. The other half is spacing unnecessarily. And when I mean unnecessarily, I mean like date, space, phrase, space, date. Anyways, what are people missing and why? I want to go ahead and answer the why real quick. I think this is really just short, simple, sweet, because people are not actually going through and doing exactly what I do. When it comes to certain scenarios, when it comes to specifically like YouTuber drama, TikTok drama, any type of drama, which piques my interest, and it comes to the point where it's like, you know what, I actually do want to talk about this. I want my 2 cents in, which I don't believe I have talked at all. I mean, I've briefly mentioned the Ruby Frankie situation, but I haven't dedicated a whole video to any certain type of drama. Reason being is I want to go forward with all of this by watching everything from start to finish. So what that means is I went to the Resilient Jenkins TikTok and I scrolled all the way down to their very first videos that are still public, and went all the way up to the most recent one. I haven't watched any videos today, but I did yesterday. So we're gonna start off with 2022-59. Most people just don't do this, which is upsetting, but I can validate this because even though people have gotten millions of views on these videos talking about them, some of their videos, especially all the way back here, still remain like under 4,000. So yeah, people are just not doing their own research. I like to research, so I did the research. 2022-59. Cashier pointed out her 3 kids are close in age and she wanted to educate the cashier. Now this was actually because, you know, she was pointing out like, oh, that's so many kids. I don't think I would want to have kids that close in age. I want to branch them out a little bit so I can have a little bit help with one after the other. Now, where I think this is kind of funny in a sense of, yes, I do agree with the point and probably what realistically looking at this, what she was trying to invoke with this education, which is, hey, don't say this to moms, which I think she did even say that. But I think it's funny from a logical standpoint of hindsight. Now in hindsight, we see how she is and everything else of, oh, you want to educate others, but you won't educate yourself. And one thing that I want to do is specifically about this argument on the pros and cons on having children so close in age of like, you know, one of the biggest con about that is the physical toll it has on the person who is getting pregnant. If you're getting pregnant back to back, and look, I'm speaking as a parent who had 2 children kind of back to back, okay? You are going to hurt your body, okay? Firsthand experience, understand, but also looking at statistics and knowing just how much your body physically needs to heal, especially when we want to consider the type of birth as well between vaginal versus cesarean. You want to definitely educate yourself on this. You shouldn't have kids so close together. Realistically, you shouldn't have children so close together when you look at your health. Well, I say logically, not realistically, because realistically is more of your own person. Realistically for her is to go ahead and just have multiple children. Logically, though, it is not. There definitely is a difference between logical thinking and realistic thinking. This is something that I'm struggle with even myself and is a very hot topic with my counselor. So I'm very, very, very logical. I lack on the realistic. Where I believe Stephanie is she has her own realistic expectations, realistic for her, but isn't thinking about the logical. So we're kind of the opposite in our way of thinking, I believe. So I thought that was just funny. There's nothing really inherently wrong on this specific video, but when you look at everything pulled together, it just shows like the beginnings of, something may be there. Maybe this is how and why everything began the way it did and ended up where we are now. So then we have 2022-6/19. This is all over a month now from the last video. I didn't put down every single video, by the way. I'm not going to bore you with it. Pretty much anything that wasn't like random cat videos, because she used to post so many videos of her cats. Oh my god. I didn't realize that. I had no idea. But she posts so many videos of the cats, so many videos of just dancing, lip singing, you know, very typical TikTok stuff that I didn't put this down here, but the most controversial type things, or things that I'm like, oh, later on this actually becomes an issue, or this can play a role in certain things, that's what I wrote down here. So 2022-6/19, she did admitted to self-medicating, specifically with a type of herb that is illegal in a lot of areas. I don't think there's anything wrong necessarily with usage. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with being open about your usage. However, when you are open about your usage, you have to understand the consequences of being open about your usage. Which is funny to me, because I feel like she never mentions, like, we have no idea now. She's kind of backtracked on how open she is, if she is still using, if she's not still using. But a lot of people now have accused her of using hardcore substances, you know, very bad substances. I wouldn't say bad substances, but very highly addictive substances that can lead to very bad things happening. And it's very unfortunate that these are coming out as accusations, but I feel like a part of why this has stemmed is due to the fact that people are taking that game of telephone of, oh, she used to use what? Here, it was clearly defined of what she was using. She was using that specific herb. I'm trying to keep in the algorithm here, right? But she's very, very open about it. And I feel like because she stopped being so open about it, and because people are not looking back to what type of substance she had previously used, people are assuming the worst, because they're kind of in a worst case scenario in the present. And so people are looking for the worst case things that could further explain certain things, further make, not necessarily make things worse, but kind of, when you see people in certain situations, you kind of expect certain things, right? If you see somebody with no money struggling to keep a home, their home is unhygienic, a lot of people will associate that, with a certain substance usage, which is very stereotypical, yes. But this is also the internet. The internet is going to go the stereotypical route. You post anything publicly, the internet's going to take it and they're going to run for it, which is why you have to be selective. Whether you have 5 followers versus 5 million followers. And honestly, I am personally of the type person with most case things, if you're going to post about certain things, the best way to ensure that this game of telephone doesn't happen is to never cease to completely stop talking about it. You don't have to always talk about it, but whatever it is, you know, just so that way people will have the truth. Every once in a while, bring up whatever you had previously talked about often. You know, I talk about being a non-custodial parent. I'm going to continue to talk about being a non-custodial parent. It's not going to be in every single one of my videos, but because I know people tend to be curious, and how, you know, a lot of my videos is reflective of myself and my personal life. That is a big part of my personal life, and that's going to be, you know, mentioned throughout my videos. And always as well, of, you know, my non-custodial status came from postpartum psychosis. So it wasn't anything with horrible things. And in fact, most non-custodial mothers actually don't have these horrible things. And funny enough, not funny, but sad, but ironic, non-custodial mothers are more likely, based on all the statistics that we do have and all the studies we do have, which are very few. I do want more. I do hope more come out. Please, I would like this to be debunked. Please. I would love for this to be debunked, but as it stands with the information that we do have, non-custodial mothers are more likely to be lied to about in the courts about their mental status than non-custodial fathers are to be lied to about accusations of DV. The average Okay, so not based on individual mothers. Obviously, there's more non-custodial fathers out there. Okay, that has nothing to do with what I'm saying. It's the average. It's more likely, probability, that type of scenario. So, 2022 620. So one day after, she says gentle parenting doesn't work because you can't tell it's hippy, dippy, and zen. The 3 kids are still all under 8. So the reason why I can't yell, not tell, Jesus. Yeah, so I'm sorry. Now, I'm not going to sit there and say you should never yell at your children. There's definitely a place to yell at your kids. But I also want to say that at the end of the day, is it acceptable for you to yell at your coworkers? There's a time and place, right? There's a time and place where it is acceptable. You should yell at your coworkers in very, very circumstances. But to yell at your children, no matter what parenting style you choose, even if it is gentle parenting, you snap, you yell, you know, what's the most common outcome and what you should be consistent with is, you know, anytime you do yell at your kids, whether you want to or not, whether it is rightful or not, is to explain the why and to apologize, right? Just as you would with a coworker, right? Unless it's 110% valid. But I do believe that because children are children, there should still be some sort of explanation for certain, if not an apology completely, in those very rare circumstances where it's like, you know, you see your child running into the street and you yell at them and they get scared. It's be like, look, kid, like, I had to yell at you. I had to get your attention. And I know that's very loud and very scary, but you know what else is very loud and very scary? Cars. Like, so, you know, things like that, acceptable. But I think it's really telling when somebody says that gentle parenting doesn't work because you're not supposed to yell, and that's where you draw the line. And it's like, of course, you know, gentle parenting is not going to work on your children who are already, you know, 6, 7, and 8, roughly around the ages right this moment of time that I put down here. Yeah, of course they're not going to listen because you have already all their life yelled at them, which means they have learned not to take you seriously until you have started yelling. You conditioned them. You did that. That is what you did. You now have to, like, any type of parenting you want to do, I say if you're going to change your parenting, you have to do it consistently for 6 months straight. You cannot judge a type of parenting until you tried it for 6 months consistently straight. Full stop. So this whole judgment of gentle parenting, I've gentle parent my kids since birth. It works. It works. And since I've done it since birth, it's easier. I can't relate to, you know, going from non-gentle parenting to gentle parenting, any type of parenting before that. I don't have that experience. I cannot relate to that. I don't know. But there has been so many people who have changed that, and they express how difficult it is, but the only reason why it worked was because they stayed consistent. It's as simple as that. 2022 620, same day, claims renters under 2K are minorities. Oh yeah, that was kind of interesting. And no one follows them. Claims if she makes loads of money, she'd give it out. So this was interesting to me, because the minorities is a small group, but I actually argue that, you know, when we look at renters as a whole, you know, the 1% is the 1% for a reason. Yes, we also have the middle class, but when you look at, like, TikTok, for instance, and we look at, you know, people who are able to produce content over and over all day, every day, you have 2 types of people. Those type of people who, 1, already have a lot of money where they can make social media their own job, or 2, they literally don't have any income, and so they have the availability and free time because they're not working to be on TikTok all day every day. So that's where the 2 kind of parallels here. And I definitely argue that I believe that most people on TikTok honestly are broke. First off, you know, you can make small spaces look very, very expensive. I mean, I'm going to say that my small space doesn't look expensive, but that's also because I'm not trying to look expensive. At the end of the day, I cater to my children and my children first. And so I don't care about how fancy anything looks. At the end of the day, I also have kids. I know they're going to make mistakes. I know that they're going to get things dirty. I know things are going to get broken sometimes, whether on purpose or even on accident. So it's just, with that into consideration, I'm not going to put a ton of money into certain things, and I don't have the time or the patience really to make something, upstyle something, repurpose something to look more expensive as a way to fool people over, when I don't really even ever have people over anyways. I don't know about just anybody around in my home, my room. I have kids. No. So I don't care about that, but other people do. And I definitely grew up being told, not to believe everything you see online, to always be critical about everything you see online, even with people with very lavish lifestyles, because a lot of these things can be faked. You can fake looking like you're going out traveling. You can fake an apartment. I saw somebody being allegedly accused that they're faking, like having a closet filled with brands and shoes and everything, which is like, it's the internet. I'm certain someone has done it before, if not her. So it's just like, I understand that. And it just seems like she definitely feels very jealous and really envious of those who have these apartments that look over 2K, because they aren't deserving. And it's like, even at 2K though, even if you pay $2,000 for an apartment, you know, just because you pay $2,000 for an apartment does not mean that you're even living a rich life anyway. So that's kind of like where it's my understanding of, like, I believe that, she has never really seen big money before and what big money looks like, which most people, I believe, don't know that. But, I have definitely made connections. I have definitely understand, most people with a large amount of money, they're not buying these brands. They're not talking so high and mighty. They're not buying things that are easily breakable, easily damaged, things that aren't going to last. They're making, it's more so, I guess these are the more responsible, I know a lot of responsible ones, but they're investing in property, right? They're investing in housing. They're investing in stocks. They are doing other things that actually add to their value. Maybe they will purchase a specific brand item, but only if that's a very specific limited type item that's going to increase in value over time. And they have the knowledge of what actually is going to increase in value by understanding the patterns of these things, versus just doing anything and everything that's limited edition willy-nilly, like going down to buying every single limited edition childhood toy. Not every single one of them is going to be, highly sought after in the next 20 years. Actually being able to understand the trends and to apply them in their purchases. So it just kind of shows a lot of her mindset, and she's already got the jealousy right off the bat. 2022 622 voices she is trying for another baby, even though prior she vented about how messy the home is and how exhausted she is. Now, I wrote this down like this way because it's just a little summary there. I'm not meaning anything by this specifically in this comment. You can be exhausted. You have the right to be exhausted as a parent, point blank, period. And no matter how exhausted you are, you may want to have a bunch of children, and that's also 100% valid. But also in the specific with how she complained about how messy the home was, it wasn't just like, I think this actually might be a separate video coming up soon, but I'll go ahead and talk about it anyways, just in case that it's not. But it's like, if the kids are your primary reason for having a messy home, but you still want to have more children and you can't upkeep the messy home with the children than you have, then you should not have more children, because you are already not providing substantial living with not even just like messy. Her home was dirty, point blank, period. It was dirty. There is a difference between messy and dirty, and it was dirty. I know I wrote messy here, but that was more so her words, not mine. But there's that. 22/6/24 vents about her social anxiety being crippling and puts off or not clear. She didn't follow up on this. Kids' dentist appointments. I understand having to mentally prepare yourself for situations. I do this with almost everything. Well, I used to almost do it for almost everything. Now I've gotten it pretty much under control. in a sense of I have a coping mechanism where I think logically about situations of like, okay, and I'm trying to get to more of that realistic expectation versus logical expectation because, it definitely would prep me better, or to even just do both so that way I can have an understanding of all things. But I kind of think about things and I do tend to overthink. My counselor even pointed that out, asking if if I think that I overthink so much as a way to escape feeling. Like, maybe. But it just, you you have to get help. Stephanie needs help. Stephanie needs help because if you are having such anxiety over the dentist, all right, if you have such anxiety over the dentist, how are you going to stand up for your child? How are you going to protect your child? Right? You can have social anxiety and still be an amazing parent, but the best way to, in my opinion, to use anxiety is to actually weaponize anxiety. Get so anxious to the point where you have to speak up. Get so anxious to the point where you're like, oh, but if I don't go, what happens to their teeth? Their teeth are gonna rot out of their mouth, and then I'm gonna have to give them dentures and put them on a liquid diet, and they're gonna be 6 years old with dentures. I'm gonna have to take them now. Weaponize your anxiety to get this stuff done, which isn't always the healthiest thing. But if you're not gonna receive treatment, this is probably the best advice, and this is what essentially helped me do what I needed to do, right? If I have so much anxiety about a situation, I think about what would happen if I don't do what I need to do, though, and make that in my head worse for me than it is just doing it, because the outcomes of not doing something typically usually is worse off than just going through. So that's kind of where the whole weaponizing your anxiety comes from. 2022-74. This one made me mad. Misgenders a trans woman. He was abusing a woman verbally and possibly physically, and calls it a sexual orientation, and accuses him of not being able to handle testosterone. Yeah, I not once saw anyone talk about this, and I feel like I've been like watching their channel for like months now, and I'm like, what did I just witness? Like, I almost, like, I had to watch it a few times because I was so baffled by this. I'm like, how is this not in any of the videos that I've watched about the resilient Jenkins? Oh my god. Yeah, like, there's so many wrong things with this one. With the misgendering, evil is evil. I'll say that. I can understand misgendering someone who is evil, but we also still have to make our own peace and reflect on, is it still ethical, and how can it hurt the entirety community to misgender somebody even if they are an evil person. That's a more so food for thought. If it was that alone, I could go, it could be back and forth, it could be hit or miss type of situation. Like, on one hand, an evil person doing evil deserves evil, right? Logically. But also, when you do that, you're showing the non-evil people, part of the same community, that maybe they don't matter, right? That they're not going to get any respect no matter what choice they make in life with how they want to present their identity. So that is something of a more food for thought. It does bother me, especially considering we don't know all the facts. You're only there for one thing. You weren't there the whole time. And while I'm always going to be an advocate for a victim before an alleged victim over an alleged abuser, there has been scenarios that have definitely made me also want to consider how the cat consider how sometimes we can get it wrong, and the person we thought was the victim is actually the abuser. So, but in this case scenario, it doesn't seem to be 100% that, but I still think what she did by stepping in and providing aid for the woman was a very good thing. But calling, being transgender as sexual orientation was like, okay, but it's not though. Gender and sexual orientation are not the same thing. Accused him of not being able to handle testosterone. That one made me mad. That one was like, okay, all right, look, if that's the argument we're going to have, then I never want, Stephanie, I never want to hear you being offended by people sitting there calling you certain things when you're on your menstrual cycle, because your testosterone levels rise during that. Men and women have testosterone and estrogen, and there are times where our hormones go into different cycles, and it just blows my mind. You don't know how much testosterone this person was on. You have no idea if he's even on testosterone. So there's definitely a lot of trans men out there who don't take hormones. You don't know, but to automatically assume that A, he was on testosterone, and B, he couldn't handle it seems very gross, and it makes me wonder if she would even be offended if as well, or even just double down and weaponize the idea that because women are so XYZ during menstrual cycle because of the level of testosterone, if this is something that wouldn't actually phase her in that sense, but instead be radicalized into a more misogynistic view as, well, and that's why we women can't do XYZ. But for somebody that preaches so much about how she wants her daughters to be able to be anything and everything they want in the world, I would have to say, like, that would extend to be things like president. So I'm leaning towards, she doesn't have that mindset. But it's just, we have testosterone too. And yes, when that testosterone comes above and everything else, yes, there can be mood changes with biological women wanting to stay women, and having our hormones fluctuate and everything else can trigger certain unsavory side effects. But at the same time, when it comes to being transgender and going through hormone therapy, yes, it can change some of these things. And yes, testosterone releases and triggers a lot of cortisol. Cortisol is what makes you more easily able to get angry. But at the end of the day, your actions are your choices. How you feel is just how you feel. Okay, if you feel angry, you're allowed to feel angry. But the second you start making it somebody else's problem by putting actions with that anger towards them, you are an aggressor, right? Not being able to handle, these things, handle testosterone. Like, the people that act this way before hormone treatment, after hormone treatment, more than likely act like that even prior to hormone treatment. When we start sitting there saying, oh, well, they just couldn't handle the testosterone, well, now we're actually weaponizing a hormone. And if we can weaponize a hormone, why not weaponize that hormone for cisgendered men? Well, maybe some men just can't handle their testosterone. Maybe they just can't handle it. Maybe they should just become women. Like, you see how dangerous that goes to when we open that up like that? I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. 2022-716 calls herself an empath. Does anybody remember? I feel like that was so late. This is still very late to that train of the whole empath thing. I feel like that's a very 2019 thing. But calls herself an empath for crying while watching a TV show. Whoa, have some empathy for the children you are raising in unsavory circumstances that are going to impact them for the rest of their lives. How about them apples? What do you mean? The things that people claim they're an empath for, which there's no actual, like, scientific backing behind being an empath. Most people are empathetic. That's why if you have no empathy, that is a sign of a mental illness or a personality type. Like, most people are empathetic. You're not a special empath. Like, most people can relate to watching something on TV, on our phones, on YouTube, on, you know, shows, anything and everything, right? Even freaking viewing art and being like, wow, this is so beautiful, I'm gonna cry. Like, it doesn't mean anything really special to me. So I didn't like that, honestly, which seems like a very nitpicky thing to not like, but I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But the second Shane Dawson joined the crowd of I'm an empath, like, I can't. 2022 7/17. Quote, Loki will never understand full grown men playing video games over spending time with family. Panels over. At least the sky is keeping me beautiful company. End quote. I can't. I think that this was satire. This is one of the few videos that I did look at the comments of, and I didn't write it down, but you know, some people were like, "Oh, hindsight's everything, foreshadowing, blah 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 blah," and I'm like, I'm pretty confident this was satire. I mean, it doesn't make sense looking at this as anything but it feels like very poorly executed, and it also raised one question for me. If he's playing video games and she's outside alone, neither are watching the kids, question mark. Where are the kids? That was the only question I had there. I think it was kind of satire in that. I think she does understand and supports and always has, you know, Drew's video game playing, and doesn't see it as him picking the video games over family. But it definitely had me questioning where the kids were for a moment. 2022 7/20 claims smoking habits are messing with her hormones and flushes, aka detox, that don't work, by the way, and will quit. In parentheses, I ask, will Drew? No mention. Also claims it works if you follow to a T. You can make any. Okay, I'm gonna explain this. Stephanie is a biological woman. She has had many pregnancies. She knows what it's like to take a pregnancy test. She knows what it's like to have, you know, the importance of you using the first urine of the day with pregnancy tests, because if you drink any water very early on in pregnancy, it can dilute the HCG. These detoxes, these detoxes actually just dilute what's in your system. It doesn't make it go out faster. That's a myth. That's a myth. None of them do it. It just dilutes. It dilutes. It dilutes. And, you know, if you're doing this at home for your own well-being, journey, whatever, you know what? Fine, whatever. But I also argue, you know, these things aren't FDA approved. And if you are actively wanting to try to have a child, I do strongly believe that you should be doing everything that is approved for pregnancy during when you're prepping for it, when you're trying to conceive. You know, you should be taking your prenatal vitamins before being pregnant. In fact, they encourage 6 months before if you're trying to conceive. So things like not drinking, yes, not smoking, but also not using detoxes, because these detoxes are not safe with pregnancy. So maybe not have them in your body in case you do get pregnant. Do you see the logic there? But where I'm getting at is, if you get, you know, tested with hair follicle or through blood, congratulations, it's not going to dilute it. It's going to pop you positive. Like, all it does is flushes it in your urine. It still stays with the hair follicle, which is 90 days, in your blood 30 days. It's going to still show. I think anybody who's making any type of decisions with quitting any type of substance in order to hope for a healthy pregnancy is absolutely respectful and very sound. And this is also interesting in a sense of how you see it plays out later on. 2022-7/20, same day. Talks about trying for 6 months and lost a baby at 8 weeks, which is very sad. I do want to put that out there. I have never dealt with loss like that before. The closest I've come to is, you know, a NICU stay, and my daughter not breathing when she was born, and also stopped breathing the first time I held her, but she is still alive. I still had my daughter in the end, so I don't know what it's like to truly lose a child. And I don't have any opinions on that. It's just acknowledgement on that. She mentioned, though, in this video that her sister's friend calls her crazy for trying for another one. There was no other context given, and I even put that in parentheses, no other context. But then she does elaborate that this sister's friend is obviously jealous of her, and I want to know, like, I want to know the context of that. I'm not gonna lie, like, jealous of what? I mean, jealous of what exactly? I mean, you make satire videos about your husband playing video games all the time, and you just went through an extremely sad, upsetting loss, and you're struggling to keep up your home financially and hygienically to make a healthy environment for your children. What is there to be jealous of? I mean that in the absolute most respect, considering the loss aspect. But I don't think people are realistically and logically looking at her and actually being jealous of her. I think this is a reflection of her own mind and how high of an ego she actually has. You know, people don't want bad things to happen to them, right? Most people don't want bad things. People almost fear bad, not almost, they do. They fear bad things happening, to the point people who are associated with these bad things are almost someone they feel they need to avoid. This is why when people do have loss, it becomes very lonesome, because nobody wants to have a loss of their own like that. This is why a lot of people, if they develop cancer, they're going to lose some of their friends and support. Not every single one, but it does happen a lot. In fact, with women who are married, they are actually more likely to be divorced during treatment than, say, men who are married. But it still does also happen with men. So it's just, people don't want the bad things, people want the good things. And in order to be jealous of somebody, you would need a lot of good things going on, and at this point there's not. So I strongly feel, and my whole point of this is that she has an ego, and it's very obvious that what other issue is going on with the sister's friend there, which is already long past gone. Probably nobody even knows or remembers what the issue was. It just shows her mindset. It's weird to me, but yeah. Moving on to the next one there. 2022-7/20, another video from the same day. Says she is still trying to sober up. Just a little check-in. 2022-7/21, claims vaccines were useless because she got COVID and it was, quote, 1,200 times worse than people who didn't have the vaccine, end quote. You know what? I'm not gonna, it troubles me when people say this, because from what I have noticed, most people that say this, they ended up getting sick within 48 hours of getting the vaccine. Anytime you get vaccinated with anything, your immune system takes a shot. Okay, it's a shot because your immune system takes a shot. Got it? Like, that's the way I like to think of it. I mean, there's a reason why, you know, growing up and going to school, you know, if you got had to leave school to go to the doctor to get your vaccine, right, you wouldn't come back. And if you did, like, all the teachers would be like, why are you not at home? You know, they'd be like, because your parents not able to take the whole day off work, or why are you not home? And this is because you should be resting for 24 to 48 hours after getting a vaccine, because your immune system does take a hit. You are more likely to get sick, and congratulations, it's not been in your body long enough to do what it needs to do. And therefore, yeah, you're going to get it as if you never got it, but it's not going to be worse. There's no scientific backing that it's going to make it worse. It just shows this kind of logic of distrust in doctors, and you will see more of this soon. 2022-722 says she's manifested Drew. LOL. That's all I play. 2022-722, same day, mentions her act as an SO, which I have sympathy for, and empathy for. I have somebody in my life that is an ex-SO that I never knew, and I can sympathize and empathize on that more than I would like to admit. Claims since she has seen old men at the park with cameras, we shouldn't go after moms that post innocent videos and kids online. And it's just women hunting, hurting, hating. Jesus, I can't read my own handwriting. Yeah, that one was weird to me. Really weird to me. It was like a video that gave you whiplash. Going from mentioning that she knows an SO. I don't understand the logic here. I don't post my kids. Once upon a time, I did post my kids to social media. More so like my own page type thing, family, friends. Some of it would be public in a sense of like my profile picture or my background photos, but I ceased that about almost 2 years ago now, and I have no intentions of putting my children on any of my social media platforms publicly until they are 18. Like, I don't care, even if TikTok's whole thing, they can make their own TikTok at 13. They can have their own. They can be educated on the risks and pros and benefits and consequences of it all, of having a social media at that age, but they're not coming onto mine. And I do want them to, limit who they add and be careful about that, but it's just weird to me that she also phrases women hating when it's like, for every single family channel where there is a mom and a dad, it's equal responsibility, right? It's equal responsibility. It is not just solely hating on the woman. The reason why I feel it is often looking as women hating is because there's more women, more mothers in the cameras, but we also have literally several fathers that have come into the limelight of being accused of being all these really awful dads and everything else, and being problematic, and it just doesn't make any sense to say it's solely women hating. People just hate family channels in general because they exploit children, and that's a fact. It's like, there's no way to beat around that. It can be very minimal, it can be almost to a point where it's like, done in a respectful manner. They waited until the kids, are old enough to have their own social media accounts on the respective platforms, and they ask if they want to make videos. They don't do the videos. They don't suggest anything. They keep every single unsavory moment private, yada 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 yada. It can be done, but the vast majority of family channels are not doing it like that. And that's a fact. Like, you can't argue. Yeah. And just because a creep is at a park and you've seen old man with cat. First of all, did you call police? I'm just curious. I mean, you were telling that girl who was being abused by the trans man to call the police, but she never mentioned police in this video, which made me wonder. I just had to point that out. She didn't mention the police. But it just, curiosity there is like, okay, so your mentality is like, well, if somebody else is going to do it without my consent, might as well just do it with my consent. That's really giving, to me, it's the exact same logic of a person who has their no ignored and then just now always says yes because they don't want their no to be ignored. And they think they aren't going to be hurt by saying yes because they're not saying no and it can't be ignored and taking back power, when in reality they're not going to feel happy about themselves. Like, it feels like the same energy there. 2022-82, venting about 5 minutes to herself, which fair, she's allowed to vent about that, but this is, another time in which she has been, explaining her unhappiness with the situation that she has placed herself in and wants to add more children to. Like, if you don't think you can get yourself 5 minutes now, you're definitely not gonna get 5 minutes later. No. 22-87, sits in silence with a stitch, being an empathetic self. I'm telling you, the empath stuff really gets to me. The same day, 22-87, briefly talks about sensory issues, which again, like, I relate. I have sensory issues. I understand. And that's why I know I'm not going to be an awesome mom if I have more than the kids right now that I do have. So I'm not going to have more right now. I would like at least one more. In like 5 years from now, at the very bare minimum. So, like, it's like, I really rather not. I don't think I would be as great as a mom. So, no, I'm not even gonna chance it. 2022-88, Drew asked if she'll be good alone with the kids at Dollar Tree. The kids were running around and she couldn't handle them. She also briefly talked about like a run-in she had with a customer there and everything else, but it's like, you already couldn't handle your kids that you had in a dollar store, and these dollar stores are small, guys. Like, if you can't already handle the children you got, why would you have more? This is something that really trips me out in a sense of like, yes, just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? I understand she wants a million children. I felt the same way. I wanted a lot of children. I wanted as many children as I possibly could. And for the longest time, I was like, if I could afford one day to have like 50 children, I would. But then pregnancy happened. And I realized I don't have good pregnancies. I went through a lot of risk with my pregnancies. And now I know that there could be a potential risk to my health and my life with every pregnancy that I have. Like, more than the norm, because I argue it does pose a risk to every pregnant person's health and life. But struggling with hypermestic gravidarium, yeah, it's rough. It's real rough. I can't imagine trying desperately hard for another child just to losing my life and my children not having me. I can't fathom that. 2022-8-13, finally post stepson for the first time in months. Has posted a ton of the girls in the meantime, and this is a running thing. I couldn't understand a lot of times when people were accusing favoritism. Now I understand 100% why, and you will see. 2022-8-19 talks about struggles with celiac disease for 14 years, so she does also have a lot of health concerns as well. And celiac disease is nothing to mess around. You don't F around and find out with that, which she does later on. just FYI, 2022 8/24. Yes. Talks about being spiritually connected to her sister. I always think that's funny. And it's like, I think it was something along the lines of, you know, her thinking about something that her sister had to have been thinking about at the same time. And it's like, that's not how science works, but okay. Whatever. 2022 8/29. Pregnant. That's all I put. Pregnant. Same day, 2022 8/29. Talks about 5 abnormal pap smears, and this is the reason for her distress in mental health care. Parentheses, doctors have bad egos. This one puzzled me. I don't understand this, and it's as crazy as it sounds. She literally associated her abnormal pap smears to her distrust in mental health care and didn't really elaborate on that. And I still don't understand. I don't understand. And then she accused all doctors of having bad egos while she simultaneously has one as well. Same day. Thinks she's agoraphobia, has agoraphobia, which that's self-diagnosable. It is. You can diagnose yourself with that. You're fine. You have it. It's true. You've got it. You rock it, girl. I don't know. 2022 8/31 says it's weird that video games are provocative. ... People who like it are weird. Parentheses. Never had a cartoon crush, I guess. In parentheses. I don't know. She never had a childhood crush on a cartoon character. That's to me what it is on there. I think she did 2 videos on this as well, and it's just like, it really bothers you. And fair, right? You can't control what bothers you and what doesn't bother you, but you can control your reaction to it, and you can get down to the reason why it bothers you so much, right? Oh, you can actually see one of the kittens. But it really, I mean, look, with the amount of women that play games now, even the women make very provocative characters, is all I gotta say. Like, come on, like, it's the time. It's the time, which we are now seeing. I feel we're dipping into a more modesty era, and I feel like that's going to reflect actually even in video games soon, but we shall see. 2022 8/31, same day, almost 10 weeks pregnant, no ultrasound, which she didn't really elaborate on this. Now, she may have like deleted videos, because I did notice some inconsistencies and stuff like that, references to other videos that were not there. So she had been deleting videos since the very beginning. She didn't elaborate as to why it's taking so long to get an ultrasound video. And normally doctors will want you in by 8 weeks, especially if you previously had a miscarriage. So that doesn't make sense to me. And at this point, she does has Medicaid, so I kind of always wondered as to, you know, why she didn't just go to the ER and say she has, you know, basically lie at this point. Like, I'm sorry, but I do feel like there should be more ultrasounds available, in a sense of like, it should be more accessible, it should be easier, it should be better off and everything else. And while I don't 100% encourage, you know, people to just willy-nilly go to the ER on Medicaid, at the same time, I believe it is a valid concern enough where if you already had one previously, and it was literally the most recent one, and you just got pregnant again, that you should make sure everything is in order. And if your doctor's not willing to do so, then yeah, your next best case is to go ahead and go to the ER. Like, it's not the circumstances we would want, but we don't live in a world where those circumstances aren't needed for those that, you know, those little actions there to lie. So I definitely question, like, why, especially since she seems to distrust doctors so much. I can't understand like why she would just stay with one doctor either. So it just, I don't know. She didn't really elaborate. And if she did, she took down the videos that elaborated on it. So who knows? 2022-9-1 claims to be a lonely, talkative introvert. You are probably either both an introvert and an extrovert, or actually an extrovert. Just because you have anxiety does not automatically make you an introvert. And that's kind of what seems to be her understanding. And I think I do write this later down as well. So it's not important, so we'll just skip it. 2029-9-3 struggles to cook 3 days in a row due to depression. I get it. I get it. But why are you adding more? Why are you adding more? If you're struggling to take care of what you have, why are you having more? It doesn't make any sense. Why are you having more? It doesn't. Get help. Just get help. If you were getting help, I wouldn't be so anal about that, because at least you have health resources, but you've admitted that you aren't taking care of that stuff and you have distrust in it. So, and you're self-medicating, but now you're not even self-medicating. So what are you doing? 2022-9-5 complains still haven't seen baby and wishes to deflect anxiety in doctor's dreams. That was a weird one. I'd have nothing to say about that, but literally just deflect all her anxieties into the doctor's dream. I don't know. 2022-9-7 talks about alpha women super vaguely and claims to be one, parentheses, what the fuck, lol. And says other women are intimidated by her because only hateful and jealous people don't like her. She says no one likes her. And she is always right that everyone she meets is essentially bad and chooses not to hang out with these women. Complains about gossip in parentheses, but loves her husband's work gossip and doctor gossip in parentheses. I think that says everything it needs to say for itself. Same day, 2022-9-7. Accidentally gave her kids spoiled Gatorade. Smelled, quote, smells like someone pissed in it. End quote. That's dirty. That's dirty. That's dirty. Gatorade don't get like that overnight. That's dirty. That is vile. I'm laughing, but that's not funny. I'm apparently Drew disagreed. I didn't write that down, but I do remember that. Apparently Drew was like, no, that's not bad. What do you mean it's not bad? What? 2022-9-8. Second video with Starbucks. Oh, I started recording her Starbucks to track like how much money she's spending on herself she claims so often that she's so broke. Second video with Starbucks, got wings for baby and previously protein bars for herself. Drew ran to the store to get those in a different video that I didn't put on here. A lot of spending on unnecessary food while being broke. Quote, not hating too bad, but zero mention with kids. Yeah, where are their snacks? Did they get Starbucks treats? Like, if you're gonna spend money willy-nilly, at least I could validate a little bit if it's for the whole family. You know, you want to give the whole family a special little treat. But when it's just for yourself and it's consistently for yourself and your kids, you're talking about how your kids don't have clothes, your kids don't have food, your kids don't have shoes, your kids need more space, blah, blah, blah. It's like, what are you doing? I don't understand. I don't understand. I'm broke. I'm broke. I'll tell you that right now. I'm broke. I've had fast food 3 or 4 times in the last 6 months. 2022 9/10, a stay-at parent steps up to replace absent parents like co-parenting doesn't exist, plus no mention of Drew's son he abandoned. LOL. I was petty there. But yeah, specifically she was talking about a step-parent steps up to replace absent parents, kind of alluding that the stepson of hers was abandoned by his mother. 2022 9/12, thanks her apartment is haunted because faucet and shower trips. That one was just funny to me. I had to put that. But it also important to keep up with things like religious and paranormal type beliefs when it comes to a person that struggles with mental health, because once you understand their pattern of behavior with these beliefs, you're able to determine when something is abnormal and reaches a level of psychosis. So one of the reasons why I put that. 2022 10/3 shows stepson again, but only with daughters. And by the way, again, reminder, between every time I write down about the stepsons, there's at least like 4, maybe 5 videos with the daughters. So it's like every couple of videos, we finally see the stepson. 2022 10/20 shows son briefly with girls, decorating cookie, ends on oldest daughter. And this was like a separate like shot. Like, you know how you can take multiple clips on TikTok, so it's paneling over them on the table, right? And then it ends with a second shot where it's just her daughter's face, and I'm like, why was that put in? Like, she's staring at my soul. I don't know what's up with that. And she's looking dead at the camera. 2022 10/31 talks about being cramped, and her family doesn't want to be cramped in her home to visit and says to visit them, claims it's one-sided though. Which honestly that's respectful. If it's so cramped, and not only cramped, but your home is dirty. Okay? Dirty. Yeah, your family's not gonna want to visit. Take the invitation somewhere else. 2022 11/7, 2 videos were posted. Made 2 separate TikTok videos taking pictures with the girls, but not her boy. Parentheses, TF, question mark, in parentheses. 2022 11/21, montage with Drew. And I mentioned, I'm not wearing my glasses right now, but I think we have the same glasses. I thought that was just funny, because I did buy the men's glasses at Walmart, and I think they're the same. 2022 11/26, quote, smoking is not good for your health, ... but you know what? I don't care, end quote. I can't even tell what I wrote. Hashtag medication, hashtag nausea relief, hashtag back pain. And this was a little trend, if I remember correctly, of like, oh, dances. That's what I wrote, dances. Dude, my handwriting's bad. I feel bad for all the teachers that's ever graded any of my handwritten work. Anyways, it just shows that she, I guess, stopped quitting. And I suspected that possibly at this point, you know, obviously she's pregnant, so she's pregnant and using. Now, I do believe there are some very, 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 very specific reasons why the pros to smoking and pregnancy outweighs the cons. And I don't believe she qualifies for those specific reasons. So I did not like the fact that she was doing that, but that's my own opinion there. 2022 11/26, Starbucks with sister. But where's the kids? Do the kids get cake pops? Did they get a little drinky drink? 2022 11/27, when I'm trying to be good and microdose, but the kids are on it today. Yeah. See, what's the difference between that and, you know, using any other type of substance, legal or not, for your kids? Like, it just feels nasty in a sense of like, you can't handle your kids are gonna want to see this, and your kids, if they ever feel like that, you know, you abuse the substance of your choosing, Now they will look at this and feel like, oh, I'm the reason why they're abusing these substances. Yay, I'm the problem. Like, this is what it gives off. Don't post stuff like that. Don't post stuff like that at all. Whether you're happy with your usage, unhappy with your usage, you should not post stuff like that. Your kids are going to see it. Your kids are going to feel a certain type of way about it. And with you having so many, at least one of them are going to. At least one. You've guaranteed it at this point. 2022, 11:27. Oh no, sorry, 11:30. More coffee. Do the kids get treats? I put a little star here. No videos between 2023 2/14 to 2023 6/2. What happened? I couldn't find any information really on this that I was able to grasp. It's kind of hard because people don't do the timestamps with certain things. You know, it's just, it's really difficult to really determine what exactly happened here, if there were videos and she decided to backtrack, or she completely just did not upload anything during this time period at all. I don't know, but with how much they struggle, I am keen to believe that she did upload videos during this time. But that's a long time. That's what, from 2 to 6 is almost 4 months. That's a long time to not post a video. So and again, me posting these dates that I have here, there are so many other videos in between this of silly little dances with the girls, silly dances of herself, a bunch of cat videos, cooking videos, like, which I feel like a lot of those cooking videos and stuff has already been talked about, so there's no reason for me to talk about them. This is about stuff that people are not talking about and that has been missed. So it's just like, there's so many other stuff, but for 4 months, nothing. Like, there's nothing in between. Like, it blew my mind. So 2023 6/24, POV, when you manifest a beautiful multicultural baby and he's finally here 4 years later, in parentheses, and I put in all caps, what? It feels like fetishizing. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna say. Because it's true. 2023 7/10 claims her mom chose not to speak to her. It's just the first time I was able to notice that she mentioned her mom. So I put that on there. Because her mom's not talking about the situation. So 2023 8/2 practices braiding on her white daughters. Quote, parentheses, we know she knows how to braid. She braids her own hair, in parentheses. But son is not in sight, and he's black with tight curls. Where is his practice? This bothered me. And again, we're talking about favoritism, looking out for favoritism, because it's one of the big claims here. You know, you're gonna see more. It really weirds me out of like how much care she puts in her daughter's hair, which yes, you should be putting care for every hair, but the lack of hair care for the eldest son, like, make that make sense for me, please, especially since his hair type requires more needs and more maintenance. Make that make sense for me. It doesn't. 2023 8/11 finally sees son with the rest of the entire fam. 2023 9/22, quote, trying to stay positive for my kiddos through this financial shite show. You're choosing to make it more strenuous by having more. That's all I gotta say. 2023 9/25, first voiceover introduces verbally family while cleaning. 2023 10/18, one child is picking paint off walls, doors, etc. I did look at the comments for this. I wasn't able to determine which child was doing this, but this is a sign of anxiety, which, I mean, she struggles so much with anxiety, you know, it's not unlikely for one of her children to have developed anxiety, but it's also a sign of neglect. And that's not something people want to hear. But this is kind of one of the things where if we're going to paint the Jenkins, resilient Jenkins, as being neglectful, I argue this is probably one of those early signs. To me, you see that she's cleaning in every video, she's cooking in every video, but what all are they doing every single day outside of those things? Obviously, they're not cleaning every day, because if they were cleaning every day, the house wouldn't get to the point that it's at. And if she was cooking every day, well, we already know that's a lie, because she struggles with her depression and she's gone days without cooking. So what are they doing every single day? And I have a suspicion, this is just my opinion, that she is possibly just laying in bed and ignoring the kids, and the kids are just running wild and picking at the walls. That's just my opinion. 2023 10/21, sister asks how she does it, and she says she's got Mary Jane running through her veins. She's possibly still breastfeeding. That is a choice. 2023 10/29, brought hair clips for her daughter online. Son's hair? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question mark. Where is his stuff? Question mark, question mark, question mark, question marks. We almost see nothing about hair care for this boy. It astounds me. 2023 10/31, complains she shares one bedroom with 4 kids. Starting it off. 2023 11/2, talks about shopping with EBT, so she is on benefits, which I'm not against that. 2023 11/4, uses hashtag breastfeeding, so she is smoking and breastfeeding, even though it allegedly was messing up her hormones, which is why she wanted to stop. I don't know. 2023 11/5, started a cooking series with the girls. 2023 11/6, finally sees son again, but with all siblings. 2023 11/12, quote, there can't be excuses for your health as a parent, end quote. Neglect mental health, LOL, is what I put. 2023 4/12, another coffee, says she's probably needs help because she dreads going out. Yeah. You think. 2023 11/15, another A and B, that was the name of the cooking series that didn't last. Cooking video, you can hear a girl threatening to slap the other. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah. It was very brief and in the background, and I don't know what the context of that was there, because it's supposed to be just a cooking video, so you're focusing on the cooking, but you can hear it. It was interesting. 2023 11/18, quote, I try with the gentle parenting, but is it helping or hurting, end quote. Shares arguing with her kids about warm clothes in winter, says, oh, Grace, naughty kids, is, quote, coddling, end quote. Yeah, my kids don't get a choice. I don't argue. First of all, I don't argue with my kids. You're gonna do it. Like, eventually you're gonna do it. If you wanna throw a fit for a little while, okay, cool, you can throw your fit for a little while, you can feel your feelings and everything, but guess what, we're still gonna do it. You need to wear warm clothes. We're not gonna sit here and argue about it, but I'll give you the choice. Do you want this jacket? Do you want that jacket? Do you want these socks? Do you want that socks? Do you want these pants, or you want those pants? Do you want these mittens, or you want those mittens? Which shoes do you want? You know, those are the choices I give to my kids. What's not an option is wearing appropriate attire to keep them, safe. There's no arguing. You don't need to argue. You do realize it takes 2 to argue. You are actively choosing to argue with your children. You don't need to argue. They can voice their opinions. You don't have to make an argument about it. Who would have thought? She does not understand gentle parenting. She doesn't. 2023 12/21, quote, no one can judge me faster than I do. Kids are unbathed. Cats covered in fleas and bites. Laundry not done. My kid's hair undone. In parentheses, we see son with short hair. Dad's long in other videos. In parentheses, no presents under the tree. No fancy Christmas event to take my kids to due to no funds. Broken and complete toys everywhere for kids. My kids need new clothes. If you decided not to actively try to have the child at that point, you would have likely had a little bit of funds to do some of those things. But you chose to be selfish. It's simple as that. I'm not going to elaborate. 2024 1/5, son gets his own video Trying jerky. 2024-19 talks about America is poisoning us with pastries and tries Mexican ones and feels fine despite being celiac for 20 years. They weren't made in Mexico, though. Likely American flour, probably misdiagnosis, or she's only having minimal reactions she's not realizing. This blew my mind. And I didn't actually write down when they had more pastries given, but I saw like maybe 3 other videos where she got those Mexican pastries, and it's just like, you're why would you do that? Like, I don't eat wheat. I've cut out wheat since November. I feel like crap no matter what wheat I eat. You know, it doesn't matter. Like, I'll start feeling like crap, and I'm like, okay, we're going on a hunt. What did I eat that has wheat? Because obviously I ate it, and I find it somewhere. And I don't have celiac. So either this has to be a misdiagnosis, or my thought process is that her symptoms right now is just really, really minimal, or she's not realizing them. I don't know, because she kind of stopped later on. 2024-114, having a boy has given me a whole different love as a mom. No one can prepare you for the endless fears that come with raising an independent, strong son, end quote. What about your other son? Also, this is a little sexist, I'm not gonna lie. But also, what about your other son? You already have one. You have the stepson, remember, that you step up for because he was abandoned? What happened? 2024-2-1, I see the front door. Kids' mattresses are in the living room. At this point, it was hard to kind of decide beforehand, but at this point, I was absolutely 100% certain they were in the living room. 2024-2-3, 2 kids donkey kick on swings, but only filming daughter, not son. 2024-2-3, photo shoot with both sons. 2024-2-4 shows 3 oldest dancing. 2024-2-10 shows all kids singing. 2024-2-11 films all kids playing game. 2024-2-17, finally another video about the oldest son. He learns to make a bologna sandwich, which he didn't realize you had to take off that red like plastic off of the bologna. I will up him. I was an adult when I did this. You know those cheese covered in wax? I ate that. But I have also eaten the bologna ring as an adult. 2024-3-2, Amazon unpacking kitchen supplies, food processor, Dutch oven, and eating a $4 yogurt. Bought herself a weird fanny pack. I don't know. Now, I actually don't know 100% if all of these Amazon purchases were like gifts or not. I'm not 100% certain at this point. These may have been purchases at this point, or it may have been gifts. I don't know 100%. 2024-3-2, she thinks she has skin cancer. Didn't go anywhere with that. 2024-3-5, bought an expensive bride cheese for herself. She loves her food. She loves her snacks. She likes to give herself the expensive stuff. 2024-3-5, molded laundry, ... That's all I put. It was nasty. That's all I gotta say. 2024-3-9, buy pants off Amazon for herself. 2024-3-11, and that one she did buy. She mentioned that. 2024-3-11, got a second vehicle so they can have, quote, 2 incomes instead of 1, end quote. That didn't last. 2024-3-13, doing Uber and Instacart and wants to decorate with money for daughter for school accomplishments, made $40 and they spent all of it. You don't make money to spend money on non-necessities when you're broke. And especially when you bought a new car and you need to make payments. 2024-3-16, bought herself a dip powder kit. I don't know if she bought that or if it was gifted to her. I'm not 100% certain. Jesus. 2024-3-6, bought an entire B-Day cake for baby. It was one of those like maybe 8-inch cakes. For her baby, he ate 2 bites and smashed the whole thing. It was cute, and I do know it's popular, but also when you have such little funds and you need to make every cent stretch, even if it is food stamps, I you don't have the luxury with food playing like that. You don't. 2024-36 says mom is a piece of crap. She has borderline personality. Mom cut her off at 8 months pregnant after accusations of bad mental health. ... Parentheses. Yet hers is also bad and negatively impacting her own 4 kids. In parentheses. You're rude if you don't watch her videos. Yeah, she was saying if you don't watch her videos and everything else, you're rude. And that's literally it. Like, there was not like just saying like another video that went viral not that long ago of her saying like, you need to hear my side of the story or else you're not getting it. Why did it? And no, this is way before that. Okay, this is literally her saying that if you do not take the time to watch her videos, you are rude because you would rather watch someone else. She is entitled. She has an ego. 2020 ego, not it sounded like eagle. 2024-41. They are both door dashing. Spent $20 on soap and bought teriyaki and drinks. 2024-44. Bought a cat water fountain. This might have been an Amazon gift. I don't know, but I'm thinking it wasn't. 2024-411. They bought a bread box. This might have been a gift. I don't know. 2024-420. She is a self-proclaimed conspiracy theorist. No elaboration. 2024-425. Son gets his own video finally. Again, before all this, it was just stuff with the daughters. New baby. Son gets his own video, before and after haircut, short. It does look nice, I put. If this was his own choice, that's fine, but can you really make the choice to have short hair if you've never been taught how to take care of long hair? Food for thought. 2024-425. Uses a broken brush on the baby. 2024-429. Son's 8th birthday. 2 presents, chips, candy, homemade muffins. I think they were actually cupcakes just without icing. Says it's more than what they could do the previous year. 2024-53. Amazon haul a uni steamer and $20 pie pans. They paid for that. 2024-510. Girls 7th birthday, 3 presents, crap ton of balloons, banner, cupcakes, 2 tier cake, no crumb frosting. LOL. Just keeping track of birthdays. 2024-513. Daughter's B-Day sign is still up. 2024-516. Bought daughter balloons because she was sad. 2024-517. Amazon. Is that Amazon fun? I don't know what that means. I don't know what I put. Are you attacked? What are you attacking? Yeah, you can attack that. 2024-517. Her man bought her 2 bags of haichu. Constantly with the personal snacks. 2024-518. Her mom blocks her on social media. 2024-61. Doesn't baby-proof the house so they can, quote, explore and learn. That's what we call neglect. Because here's the thing, baby proofing does not mean you have to do all this expensive, complete baby proofing everything. Baby proofing can be as minimal as, okay, we're going to put all of our, glassware in a high place. That's also baby proofing. But I take this very literally because looking at their apartment, it literally does look like they don't, not only they don't baby proof, but it's dirty. So of course they're not going to. It's neglect. In their very specific case with that, I don't believe not baby proofing to the extent of what most people search baby proofing as is automatically neglect. It's this specific case with the dirty home in combination of not putting any unsafe objects away as well. Post about always meant to be the eldest son's mom. First specially sweet video for him after 2 years. 2024-63. Pregnant with kid number 5. 2024-68. Post old video removing bed frames because the girls, quote, kept walking on the rails. This story will change later, by the way. 2024-6-9. What's double D implants? In parentheses, I thought she had chronic back pain already. That's all I'm gonna say. 2024-6-22. Calls Red Dye 40 is poison, but she gives her kids junk food with it. Like, she made a whole video talking about how we are being poisoned with it and how bad it is, but then she simultaneously gives her kids it. 2024-7-4. Drew has a heart attack scare. 2024-7-10. Kids get lice. I've had lice as a kid. Not fun. 2024-8-20. Drew is working overtime. 2024-8-23. Mom and daughters do weekly hair kit masks. Hair oil masks. What about the son? Hair cares. These masks are great for all hair. Basically, you can have customized, and she made them, right? So it's like you can make hair masks specifically out of the trash can. You can make hair masks specifically for certain hair types. So it's also like, why didn't you make one for the son? Do you not care about his hair? I'm just curious. 2024-8-30. Daughters get DIY manis. 4 videos on 2024-9-4. Dance trend. 3 videos with each of the 3 big kids, and then the 4th are the daughters and the baby. Her favorites. 2024-9-5. Cat has a skin infection. Jesus, and talks about rehoming. Since she is too broke, which she never actually properly did. She just abandoned. Spoiler. And that was literally 2024-9-5, by the way. 2024-9-10. Oldest boy and second daughter makes a dance video together. 2024-9-13. Bought second son first pair of shoes off, you guessed it, Amazon. 2024-9-22. Another DIY mani with daughters. 2024-9-24. Family montage with the whole family. 2024-9-27. Shows all kids at the park. Just keeping track of stuff like that. We still have more. I'm sorry. It's a lot. Like I said, I went through every single one. 2024-10-3. Shows oldest boy making chicken. 2024-10-16. Advertises Drew's detail cleaning car business. Oh, that was a mess up that I correct later, by the way. 2024-10-8. Quote, absolutely baffles me that my beautiful kids haven't gone viral yet. 2 years and counting, babies, we got this. Eventually, mama will make our dreams come true. End quote. Pick of all kids. So you would like to exploit them. This is important for later. 2024-10-18. Drew car detailing again. All caps. Not car, just wheels. What? I just read the caption. 2024-10-19. Bought second daughter unicorn shoes. They were not purchased. These were gifts from their Amazon wish list. 2024-10-20. Eldest daughter got the ankle boots from the Amazon wish list. 2024-10-21. Both girls got maybe 3 pairs of Amazon pajamas off the wish list. So they're making these videos of the girls receiving their stuff off the Amazon wish list, but later they will post an entire like montage of everything that they got, and there's no specialized video for the sons. Just saying. 2024-10-27. Quote, dad takes his first eating off in 150 plus days, so him and the kids have a gaming sesh. End quote. They just watched. LOL. They watched him game is what I mean. Alright. 2024-10-28. They got gifts from Amazon wish list. 2024-10-30. Response video of other child Drew has did HVAC, made $24 an hour for 1 year. Why not go to another company if unsatisfied with raise? That was the excuse they were giving, was that he wasn't getting raises. Okay, but $24 an hour is enough. That is enough for y'all to at least get an apartment and be able to sustain an apartment with at least 2 rooms. Like, that's ridiculous. WTF paid child support and garnishments and taxes, but owed $6K, claims to just paid it. They fight on explaining why he isn't involved with his son's mother. Says the kids broke and bent their beds before. They just claimed they walked on it and it was a safety hazard for them to constantly walk on the rails. Interesting. She rather stays home, complains rent has gone up. Drew says W2 is what he would like to have, but she interrupts to mention his health. He is on blood pressure medications. You know what? I've been on blood pressure medications, and you want to know what? I work. I could get on disability right now from my health issues. Let me tell you what. I work. Why? Because my disability, the payments I would get right now would only be like $1,100. But if I work for like the next 5 to 10 years and get that raised up to at least $2,000, I can at least make that work in the sole event if I absolutely have to get on disability. And then I'll have a little bit of money saved up as well. You have to prepare for the future in events if you're going to talk about your health as if one day you are going to be 100% disabled. That's how you're supposed to look at it. 2024 1031 followers bought the girls a bunk bed and a toddler bed, new vacuum, color light bulbs, and door locks. 2024 11/7 Amazon wishlist haul. They got games, kids kitchen set, football for dummies, detailing supplies for Drew. Why is he not writing this off in taxes? Is he not filing? Question mark. Brita water filter, pot holders, kids play tent, night light projector, storyboard, cleaning supplies, washcloth towels, shoes for Drew, socks, pants, tops, water bottles, cooking utensils, pillow and sheets, detangler, brush, learning charts, hoodie, baby hygiene stuff, so like body wash, shampoo, conditioner, that stuff, steam cleaner, use the Yanni, toothbrushes, which they also not that long ago had toothbrushes, so I'm like, what happened to those other toothbrushes? Those were expensive looking toothbrushes. Puzzles, Legos, Nerves, guns, cups, plates, bowls, baking sheets, glow-in-the-dark stars, 4-tier baskets for fruit and curtains. 2024 11/9, still buying artificial dyes, lol. 2024 11/22, first PR unboxing. 2025 1/26, gave birth in the car, stayed one night in the hospital. Just a crap ton of cleaning, I think cleaning and cooking videos. Been more consistent showing kids now, all kids now, yeah. 2025 2/16, newborn, shown many times sleeping with blankets in bassinet. This is disgustingly unsafe. It is, and everyone in my personal life knows if I see it and I know you're gonna do it overnight and supervise, I will call CPS on you. Don't do this. I'm not going to let a baby suffocate on my watch. 2025 2/21, being evicted is less than a month away. 2025 2/26, denied housing due to her bankruptcy. Where is all their money? Question mark. They should have at least $2K monthly with the videos that they do. 2025 2/27, now open about neither working and looking into other options in more areas for housing. What happened to them? The both door dashing. What happened to the second vehicle? I think that was gone. 2025 3/3 announces they will not be keeping cats inside. Threw away litter boxes and items. They still had fleas. Cat still likely has skin issues. 2025 3/15 announces they move to a hotel tomorrow. Will not take mom's offer to move in without Drew. Also, she says she doesn't want to abandon the cats. You had months to look to rehome them. Even before the eviction notice was given, you already knew you couldn't afford them and you kept them. You did this. 2025 3/18. First day at the hotel, they bought random knickknacks instead of just essentials needed. WTF. 2025-319 claims haters called the hotel and got them kicked out. I would like to know more about that. There's a lot of doubt in that claim. 2025-322 doing dishes in the tub. I've had to do this. Hashtag relatable. That's just my own little comment there. I've had to do this. I've lived in a hotel motel once before, actually twice before. Once as an adult, once as a child myself. I'm speaking from experience here. Now, granted, I had one parent that was stable in a house, and so the majority of the week I was with them, and on the weekends I was with the other parent that was in the hotel, motel, extended stay, whatever. But at the same time, it was hard. It was so hard. It sucked. And there was 3 of us kids and 2 adults, and it sucked. It sucked balls. At least they have like beds with mattresses. We slept on a freaking air mattress on the floor, and that sucked. 2025-325. Baby is sleeping in the car seat in the hotel. This can cause asphyxiation. She mentions in this video that she wants a tiny home. You need more space than that. No. 2025-329. Emptied U-Haul. They mentioned they celebrated a V-Day with pizza, coloring books, youngest son, ? 2025-330. Since youngest boy got up, everyone does, and that's what happens in small spaces. Are you prepared for that for the next 18 years in a tiny home? No, you are not. 2025-331. Drew drops off the kids to school, and the top comment, oh yeah, his quote, "Is he coming to see me after he drops the kids off?" End quote. And the name of this person was job application. 2025-42. Oldest boy has a shaved head again. Which again, if that's his choice, that's his choice. But again, I have to question, is it truly his choice if he's not actually taught how to properly care for longer hair? We haven't seen any of his hair care, but we've seen a ton about the girls. Why? 2025-48. Drew went to the hospital, denies wanting attention, validates not working due to this, blames racism on asking about substances. In parentheses, I put, I get tested even when I deny due to chronic pain claims. I mean, yes, it is true that, people of color and minorities are looked at under a microscope more, in a sense, on their claims in mental health care. They are 3 times more likely to face challenges, including malpractice, than their white counterparts. That is absolutely true. However, you are also living in a motel hotel. Y'all do have public history of using at least one illegal substance. So, therefore, it's not too much of out there to ask if substances have been used and for them to be tested. They can't take your answer at face value. I have denied this before as well. They have tested me. I've come in with chronic pain, with gallbladder issues for like a whole year. It was awful. And they tested me all the time because they have to make sure. They also have to do their due diligence. They can be, prosecuted, if they don't follow certain steps, especially when it comes to opioids. So there's a lot to consider there. I don't want to downplay if this was Drew speaking that he felt that it was racism, but this was Stephanie that was preaching this. And, I haven't looked on Drew's account, only Stephanie's. This is just Stephanie's Resilient Jenkins account. So I feel like she makes excuses and pushes blames on anything and everyone except for herself, and I just felt like this was possibly another example of that. 2025-410 showed doing youngest son's long hair, rocking youngest baby to sleep in the car seat. 2025-411 updated motel room, bigger and more sleep space. 2025-429 oldest son's 19th birthday, cupcakes for class. 2025 430, they picked out a football and Legos and decorated beds for his birthday. Also clothes, slippers, some orange thing that I couldn't figure out what it was. 2025 53, claimed to save $20 for over a year for a bubble machine. WTF. 2025 510, middle daughter's 8th birthday, cupcakes at school. 2025 512, decorated doorway, bag of candy, requested burgers for dinner, birthday crown, and ordered gifts in advance. Warrant for Drew was issued. 2025 515, youngest son may be autistic. They won't publicly post medical needs. I actually support this. Now let's talk about that for a second. In this day and age, there are many states that are making it, 1, harder to get diagnosis, 2, challenge the authenticity of these diagnoses being a lifelong thing, 3, flat out trying to take away appropriate care for them that would actually make things worse for them. I believe that, you know, this medical thing, if whether or not he is or isn't, that should remain private. And I actually think it's kind of funny. I'm like, out of all the things you keep private, at least, you know, I'll throw them this bone. This one probably should. You know, they already have their life under a microscope. They are going to be stereotyped because of the content that they have pushed out there. And that puts the children under a microscope in a negative light. You know, I'm comfortable sharing about how my son is going through his own journey of being diagnosed, but I don't post my son. You don't see my son. You don't know what my son looks like. You don't know any of his stuff and everything else already. He is less likely to have these negative effects with me mentioning them. But I also don't go into details about these specific things with my son. It actually kind of drew me back a little bit because I didn't read the comments on most of these videos. I tried not to. And so it kind of struck me by surprise. I also didn't really watch fully the videos with the baby and everything else because I just don't like watching a bunch of content about just children, like they're children. I know how children are. I have children. You see it once, you see it all. And so it's just I kept scrolling. I want the more important stuff that she's talking, stuff she's expressing her feelings, venting, complaining, yada yada yada. So it is interesting to me that apparently there has been a lot of talk about the child being possibly autistic and worries about them not posting about it as if they should be, which is interesting to me because it feels like a 180 of, you know, children have the right to privacy. Why are you posting about your children so much and their privacy and blah 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 blah. Also, you're not taking your stuff with your son seriously because you aren't posting it publicly. And I can kind of get the thought process in a sense of, well, she posts everything and we believe that she posts everything she would post about this if she was actually doing it, and I can understand that. But I actually agree with them keeping this private, and especially since they are looking for better housing. They are still in the motel hotel, and that was the last update that I wrote for 2025 516. They are still there. So it's just they're willing to relocate pretty much what seems to be anywhere, and if they were to go to another state where it's very difficult or there's a lot of discrimination on hardships with having a diagnosis, I feel like that's a personal journey, and I feel like, you know, it's better to keep that off public. So that is literally the one thing in this entire notes that I can actually understand and even agree with. But everything else just, it doesn't make sense to me, or I just flat out don't agree with it. But this is everything. I'm not gonna bore you anymore. This has been a long video. I'm tired already talking about this for so long. But this was very long. This was a lot, but this is pretty much every controversial video that was not already displayed so virally about the Jenkins family that you had likely missed because people are just not talking about. And this has come to my next conclusion of why it's probably a lot of this got missed. It's just simply, there's so much. There's so much. You see how long this video is. There's so much. So I appreciate everybody watching this. I'm tired now. I want a nap before I go into work. Maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know yet. But cat. But I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if I missed anything, if anybody was also able to know specifically about that 4-month gap, let me know, and I definitely am very curious as to what happened there, if that was a purposeful choice or if a bunch of videos were removed or even gotten taken down. I have no idea, but let me know about that.